I recently seen one like maybe 2 weeks ago from a YouTuber named Jessica Kent. Y'all should go follow her. Hi guys, I'm very excited to make this video here. I've been wanting to make one of these for the longest, ever since I believe Draw My Life videos came out. My little nephew showed me one of them and I thought it was a cool concept, so I always thought that I wanted to do one. Let's fast forward a year or so later, I still had never really even went back to YouTube and never did one. I recently seen one like maybe 2 weeks ago from a YouTuber named Jessica Kent. Y'all should go follow her if you don't already. She has some deep, like real stories to tell, and she's really helping a lot of people over there. So I watched her Draw My Life video and I had a lot in common with her that I see stemming from kind of being like an outcast and things like that. So I was really inspired to go ahead and finally do my own Draw My Life. I figured that would be a great way to introduce myself. You know, my YouTube is kind of new. I mean, it is, but it isn't new. I've been on YouTube forever, really since like 2008. I had an old YouTube and then I restarted again in 2013 and kind of just, you know, went back and forth a couple of times, random years posting stuff. But this year I'm relaunching it. So I'm going to call it a baby channel. Well, I know it's a baby channel because I hardly got any subscribers. I hardly got any, you know, likes or shares or anything, which is cool. Everything is a learning and growing process. So hopefully soon that will change. If you support your girl, please subscribe. Please tell others about what I'm doing. And here we are. Let's go get into my Draw My Life. Okay, the first frame, it shows my mom and my dad. My mother is from Chicago, Illinois, and my father is from Lexington, Mississippi. They met because my dad, the end thing at that time was to move from the South to north somewhere or Midwest, just get out of the South. So he said that was the thing that everyone did. So he moved to Chicago. Now, he met my mother at a restaurant called Pine Valley. My aunt owns a restaurant still in Chicago named Pine Valley, and it is on the west side of Chicago. And the best food you ever are gonna have, like the homemade hamburgers and just, oh my gosh, that food is so great. If you are in Chicago area, I'm sure you know of Pine Valley. But anyway, so my mother was a waitress at Pine Valley. I think all my aunts worked at Pine Valley as well. I've heard everybody from my mother's side of the family actually went and got a job at Pine Valley. So my dad meets my mother there. I don't quite know that whole story, but I do know mom told me a while back, a long time ago, I think I was a teenager, that my dad had put that song Too Hot on the jukebox and he played that for her, and I guess that was a wrap. I don't know the whole story, but that's where they met. And I remember my mother telling me that my dad was like, hey, let's go get married. And my mother was like, yeah, okay, let's go get married. And they got married. All right, here is frame 2, just married. That's my mother and my father. And 1 year later, 1981, here I come. I was cute. I had those fat cheeks. They call them jaws in Chicago. And everybody used to pinch my jaws. I kind of still got them, the little chubby cheeks. And my mom just said everybody would randomly just come up and pinch my cheeks. They stayed red. Okay, so a little while later, maybe a few years, I don't know, it's been so long ago, we packed up the truck and moved to Florida. I kind of vaguely remember that road trip. I just remember being in the back of a big rig. And I think me and my mother rode in the back, and my dad drove us from Chicago to Florida. When we moved to Florida, we started out living on Marco Island. and then later moved to Sarasota. Then a little bit after that, we moved to Orlando in the Oak Ridge area. And later we ended up moving to, now they call that Crime Hills. Okay, so we moved to Florida. And I would say a couple years after moving to Florida, all of a sudden my mother was like, oh, you have a sister coming. And I'm like, a sister coming? Are you pregnant? And she was like, no, I had a ready-made sister. I did not know that. My big sister. She packed up, came from Chicago, and moved with us. My sister lived with us from age, I believe, 9 until she turned 18. I love my sister. Anyways, in Orlando, at that time, there was not much to do. Not at all. It was like really country-like. There were dirt roads everywhere. And it wasn't much modernness to it, actually. If you come to Orlando now, it is so completely different. And really, it wasn't too much for us to do. And our neighborhood was barely developed. So I remember me and my sister going like right behind my house, like a couple houses down, they had these big old sand hills. And we would go pick watermelons from out there, and then we'd come in the house, we made mud pies, and we would play different games as we washed dishes and stuff, like we were in a restaurant. And I vaguely remember, like, we used to pretend Whoopi Goldberg came to the restaurant, and she was just being like the most, sending back the mud pies and everything. But it was a good time growing up. I loved my Cabbage Patch dolls. I had dolls everywhere. Everywhere I went, I made my dad like bring every single doll that I had with me. Wherever we went, he always had an armful of dolls. It's a